It's pretty much the end of February, and I don't know if you can hear, it's absolutely hoofing it down with rain outside. So there's nothing I can do outside. I've not been able to do any work at the plot because it's just too wet. So a couple of jobs I can get on with, just to give things a bit more time in pots and things like that, as to when the weather stops and I can get the plot prepared for things, and the garden, because the garden's very waterlogged as well, which is a first for a long time. So it is really wetter than normal. I think we're forecasting another storm, so it just seems to be never ending at the moment. So I hope it sorts itself out, otherwise the whole plot's going to be a complete washout this year and I'll have nowhere to put things. So, but I just have to kind of hope that it will right itself eventually. So today I'm going to get on with the Kelsey onions, which I sowed back in November, I think. I had some lights up in the attic. Brought them outside a few days ago, which is a bit early for my liking because it's a bit cold. So I'm just hoping it doesn't shock them into thinking it's a winter season and they're going to go to seed, which can happen, you know, if you put them into the cold too soon. You know, it's cold today. I mean, it's what here now. It's 5 degrees, so it's not a nice day at all. But like I say, you've got to take advantage of what time you can do, because you don't want to be doing this when it's all get up and go and you've got to be out digging and sorting things out. So these sort of jobs you can get on with, you know, the pricking out, potting on. So there's a few bits of pricking out I can do. I've done some lettuce already, some Mazio lettuce that you saw me sow in a previous video. Onions have been very hit and miss germination. Out of the 4 trays I've germinated, I had one near a complete tray that germinated, and the other ones are patchy, even though they were all sown in the same compost. Yeah, there was some old seeds, but there was half a tray that was half old and half new, and that's not even, I think I've got 2 out of that one that's germinated. So yeah, I've had a few germination problems this year. So I've remade some seed compost. I've sold a few more. All I've used different this time, I've just used B&Q's Verve compost, just sieved, a little bit of sand, a little bit of vermiculite, and that's it. It's a bit of an old mix I used to use. Really. I used to get cheap multi-purpose compost, the big B&Q ones. They're about £2.50 dearer than they used to be. So it's the same mix that I'm using for these. I think I've got a little bit of the Grow Shore all-purpose compost mixed in, just because it's the fibrous stuff with the B&Q. The B&Q's got some chunks in it. I did sieve some. So nothing else in it, no feed, no nothing else in it. It's just to pot these on from these little sort of 8cm pots. I mean, they're not desperate, but you know, there's roots coming out the bottom, and I suppose being in a bigger pot, there's less chance of, if it gets a cold snap, of the actual roots freezing. Keeping things slightly on the dry side, obviously because of that reason, because you don't want more water content, the more chance of your roots being sat in ice, which won't do anything any favours. And they're going to go into these bigger pots, which I think they're just over a litre. They're probably about, I don't know, maybe 12 centimetres, 15 centimetres, something like that square. So they're a decent sized pot. What I always do for me big onions and my tomatoes kind of, you know, sometimes go through this process through these. Pretty much most things that are pricked on, like tomatoes, the next stage up will be sort of into this size pot. But that's coming up soon. Might be in this video, I don't know. So we'll get on with these. So I'll just shift these out of the way. I'm not going to film doing all these because I'm going to do them all exactly the same. I have got a dummy pot like this. It's actually filled up with some concrete that I use for making the holes. Now, I tend to do these, instead of being completely square in line like that, I tend to do them on a diagonal. You know, and then it's just basically template the hole really. So I'll get some compost, which is down here. Feels quite light, so it might be a bit dry. I will have to water these today. Got a bit of perlite in it, just to hold me up a bit, because onions do like good drainage. Oh God, I'll have to cover these windows up with something at some point, because that wind is it's a bit biting in here. But it's still got quite a few big lumps in it. You know, it's just a case of, I sieved it through a big sieve, or briefly, nothing fancy. You know, still chunks, so obviously there's a few handfuls of unsieved stuff got in it. I'm just going to get my pot, stick some in, chamber it out, so it can roughly take the depth of this pot more or less. I'll tell you, you have to kind of compress it a bit, just to hold the pot in place. And then, like I say, it's on the, I don't know whether you can see that, but it's on like the diagonal of it. And it's a case of like just filling the whole lot up really, making sure you get plenty down these corners. You know, it is filling the pot in the middle up as well, but you get rid of that in a minute. I mean, some of my existing subscribers will have seen me do this type of thing before with tomatoes. It's actually, when these big onions go outside in the ground, actually pre-put out the ground with these pots ready. So they need to get done sort of in April. They tend to go out in the garden, so they'll have like another 6 or 7 weeks in the polytunnel. But I had to get them outside because I needed the room indoors, you know, for my tomatoes and stuff, because the windowsills are too overcrowded. But I've got the tomatoes are under lights, and it just should just come out. You pull that's your middle pot of compost, get rid of that, and you've got to, hopefully it doesn't all fall back in. You've got a little hole here in the middle of your compost. It's the same size as the pot. Select your onion. I mean, I've got 36. I don't think for a minute I'm going to actually finally plant out all 36, but I need to sort through them of which are decent and which aren't. But they can all go in these bigger pots, and then it's up to them. Anything that's weedy or anything like that won't go in. Anything that I like, I'll use, and I'll give some away as well to friends. It's just a case of popping it out. You know, it is very dry, that. Nestle it in there, like so. Give it a tap. You know, you've got these little singular cane supports, which probably in a week or two I'll have to go to 2 canes with a bigger ring support. You know, put 2 round rather than just 1 loop round. You get these off eBay, these little support clips. You just sort of clip around into a cane. They're alright, I've had them for years now. To do the job. And then the compost, it's not super dry, but it's dryish. It's just going to have a bit of an initial water. You know, and if it's going to drop really cold, you know, there's a frost expected, I will take these indoors overnight. And it's just a case of repeating that process till they're all done. And then that's its final thing. You know, they will get fed with a bit of liquid seaweed, you know, probably in about 3 weeks. And then again, maybe the week before they go out, because I'll let them dry off a little bit before they go out, because it's just easier to get them out of the pots because it shrinks back a bit. And hopefully there's enough roots in it then to hold it all together. You don't want to pop it out of the pot and it all falls to pieces, which can happen if you do it a little bit too soon. So that's it for these onions. So whatever the next job I do, I don't know, it won't be today in this weather anyway, but that'll end up on this video, so I will see you in the next clip. Right, I'll do a little bit of pricking out. I don't know how well you can see things because I'm kind of squat down on the polytunnel floor because there's not a lot of room. Needs a bit of a clear out in here. So I've got my giant onions in here now, they're just on the floor to be right. Got these, a tray of these which are spring greens I pricked out a few weeks ago at Durham early. These are just in these little tiny pots. The roots are at the bottom. Hopefully they'll go in the garden in a few weeks, but it's just weather's, it's not so much the cold because they're fairly hardy, but it's so windy, and the rains, the ground's very wet and cold, so I'll hold fire for a little bit. You might be able to hear the wind, it's shaking my polytunnel about, it's nearly gale force today. So I'm hoping this will be the end of the bad weather, you know, and then the season will start to change. We've got a few evenings next week, or daytime should I say, going into double figures. So that's, to me that means it should be on the shift now into the spring. Hopefully it's on its way. Well, the better weather anyway. So what we're going to do is Clapton. which are a little bit leggier than I'd like to have done them, because they've been indoors. You know, they tend to get a bit leggy with the heat and hunting for light. I like to try and catch them at sort of this sort of phase, which is what my broccoli's at. Quite small, but you get them out and it kind of slows the top growth down a bit, hopefully, and they get a bit sturdier. I've got some tomatoes. These are some piccolo. Some of you saw me tomato video. These are some from a supermarket tomato. Mrs. likes them, so I said, well, give us a tomato, I'll take some seeds out of them, and I'll maybe grow some. So I think there's 5 in here. I took 5 seeds, planted 5, and all 5 have come up. So they're more than ready to prick out. So I'll do the tomatoes first, I think. So all my brassicas are going to be done exactly the same. I'll be doing the drinking straws again. Probably do a video on that when the time comes, when I decide I'm going to do it. Yeah, we use these 7cm pots, and it'll just give me a bit more time, because I've not been down to the plot yet to do anything. I've not even paid my rent, that's due. So that's one job I need to get done. But regarding prep work, it's just far too wet to do anything. So I'm just hoping that the dry weather comes, because otherwise it's going to be a washout this year, especially potatoes. I've got a lot of seed potatoes that are chitting away, so I'm just going to get these pots, fill them up, just multi-purpose compost with vermiculite in it, with a bit of a tampering down. Get 5 of these ready. Same, the other tomatoes, probably another week before I do them. They're a little bit smaller than them. Doing my peppers exactly the same way as well, because I've got some, peppers that I've started as well. So I've had a few problems germination wise on certain things this year. Onions, believe it or not, they've been a bit of a nightmare. So we'll just have to see how that goes, and hopefully. But if push comes to shove, I'll just get some sets. Because I can just shove them in the ground in sort of beginning of April. My garlic's really slow, it's not really started sprouting yet, but it's got roots on it, so I think it's just waiting for the warmer weather to send the top up. So as long as there's roots on it, I believe that everything should be okay. So I just got to show how cold it's been, because I've planted them out before now in February. They've had a 6-inch top on them, but it just seemed very, very slow. Right, so I've got my 5 pots. I don't know how well these are going to come apart. I'm just going to try and get the whole lot out if I can. Right, so just carefully try and, because it's quite wet this. They're fairly robust tomatoes, to be honest. And they've got the handy thing with the stem, that they'll, people say, don't grab them by the stem, but I think if you baby your plants too much, and they've got to sort of go into the elements and pests and disease and that, they need a bit of they need to be a bit hardy. But there's no need to go mad with them. So they might sulk for a bit, for a day or two, but it's just a case of making a hole. And with these, there's plenty of roots on them. I'm going to bury it right down to these leaves. Oh, you can see that, all the way the stem. Most of this stem's going to get buried, because this will pump out roots as well. So I'll just get you a bit more in shot. So the lighting's quite bad here. It's just a case of tease that down. Because eventually these 2 seed leaves, you'll pinch them off, they won't be needed anymore. It's just a case of giving it a bit of a water. Make sure your water's not icy cold, because I might shock them a bit. And at this stage they want a good drink. Now I'm going to put these back in the house, because I have an unheated polytunnel, and the way the wind is, it just takes a cold wind to blow against these for a few hours, and I had it last year, a lot of them burnt off. Sometimes they'll come back around. So that's noticeably heavy, so it's got a good dose of water in that. It probably won't get watered again for a good couple of weeks anyway. I'll just repeat that with these other ones. You don't have to bury them as deep as I'm doing here, but at a certain stage they do get buried further down, so I'm thinking, well, I might as well do it now, because it saves me doing it when I'm going to pot them on again. And if they get tall and leggy, you just bury all the stem, it doesn't matter. I was given some tomatoes years ago when they were about a foot long and curly and everything, and I just planted all the stem, and I left a tip poking out, and all the stem that was in the ground produced roots. You know, you can plant them kind of diagonally if you wanted to maximise stem being like actually in the ground, because you more roots then. And obviously a bigger root system will help support the plant. I'll just water this one and that other one. I mean, you can set them in a pot of water and let them soak for 5-10 minutes, but like I say, don't go too mad. So they will sulk a little bit, more so if they come out of dryish compost and they're going into drier compost, they might sulk a bit until the roots have tapped into the water. But it's very rare you have any problems at this stage, to be honest. Like I say, unless if they get a bit of a chill, which they don't like. So as soon as I've finished filming this bit, they'll be straight in the house, either on windowsill or under the lights in the loft. I will at some point show you the light setup, because I know Nigel's just done a thing on lights. I haven't got any setup like that. I've got the same setup I've had for years, which is just a little Enviro-Grow, little 2-foot light, 2'4" tube. It's a T5 bulb. There's 4 of them in it, and then I have a little like coily daylight bulb. So I don't have a lot of light space, to be honest. That's why I had to get the onions out, because I need the space. Because it looks like, again, I'm going to be doing tomatoes for family and friends and whatever I've got left over. If there's a shop that wants them, they can buy them off me. It all helps go towards seeds and stuff instead of throwing them away, but most of the time they get put to use. So I'll just show you one of these brassicas, how I do these. Same again, just give it a fair good firming down, you know. It's going to be in these for a while, I imagine, sort of till probably another 5 weeks. And just try and get a fair bit of root out. Now these are the seed leaves, so they're going to get nipped off at some point too. But I have to watch it, because as some of you know, I have problems with a grub called a leather jacket, and they have a habit of shearing it off where the stem leaves the ground. So they will get planted out deeper, obviously, when they go out in the ground, but for now it's pointless to plant it all the way to the bottom of the pot, because it won't produce roots on the stem, this. So at some point, if I put drinking straws on, I usually nip the seed leaves off for that. So I need to wait for the second set of leaves, and then I'll just push the drinking straw down the stem. Same with that, give it a good drink. You can hold it upright if you want while it settles. These will be staying out in the polytunnel, no cover on them at all. You know, because brassicas are fairly hardy, unless if you forecast like a ridiculous frost, I might just lay a fleece over them. So that's all I'm going to do with all my brassicas. The whole lot are going to be done exactly the same. Right, it's 1st of March, so I'm going to start these potatoes off. What I've got here is some Swift left over from last year. They're quite squidgy, but I thought, well, instead of throwing them away, they've got absolutely loads of chits on them. So 2 tubs, 4 spuds in each tub, and just let them grow. So I'm just using B&Q's own Verve multi-purpose compost, because it's cheap, and I had some, so I might as well use it. I'm just going to put probably 3 or 4 inch of compost in the bottom of these. not sieved or anything, I'm just loosening it up with my hands. £30 tubs these. I get these from it's called Elixir Garden Supplies. They're based in Morecambe, I think, so I'm not affiliated with them anyway. It's just they are cheap, and I wouldn't recommend buying 1 or 2. It gets a lot cheaper if you buy like 10 or something. You know, they're near enough half the price if you buy 10. Right, so they're done. Got some bloodfish and bone meal. Probably shove about, I don't know, 3 ounces or something like that in. Whatever that is, 90 to 100 grams or something. You can put a few chicken manure pellets in, but I'm not going to bother. And just mix that in the bottom. The compost is slightly damp, so I don't actually think I'm going to water them, to be honest. Not for a few days. Right, so there's a load of chits on these, so I'm just going to knock some of the ones that are on the bottom. They're not growing up for big spuds, but I've got a few, not mine, so I'm going to put these that way. We've roughly got about 3 or 4 sprouts on each spud. You can leave them be, and they'll but you just get more small potatoes. And carefully cover them over. And then I'm going to fill the pots up to almost halfway. And then just put a little bit more bloodfish and bone meal. Don't have to go balmy with it, but just mix that in that top layer. And then I'm going to plant these ones the opposite way, that way. Same again, cover them. You can fill them right to the top now if you want to, but I'll run out of compost out of this bag soon, so if I get a good few inch on them, not so bad. It's just the trick is as the tops start coming up, start adding a little bit more compost to it. One, it'll just protect them from any frost, So this compost is quite wet at the bottom of the bag. I've got 2 more Swift seed potatoes left, so I might do like a little 12 litre pot. That's near enough, this bag's near enough done now, I think. It's full of twigs and all sorts. It's not the best compost, but to be honest, I've tried different ones. You know, there are good ones, you know, but you'll pay the price for them. But it's pretty reliable. This stuff it's not been too bad over the years I've used it. There was a stint where I used Wick's own, and then, like anything, they start hiking the price up. I mean, this is probably gone up a third in the last few years of stuff. So that's the Swift. The next one will be like King Edward's in a few weeks in pots. Probably wait near to sort of like the end of March for that. So they should be ready. I'll probably harvest them in about 100 days. So whenever that is, getting into sort of end of May, something like that. End of May, beginning of June. First week of June, somewhere around there. If they're growing really well, or we have a warm spell or something like that, and they look like they're producing, I can always harvest a pot, you know, around 90-day mark. I have had them before on 80 days, but it's just a case, seeing how they go, as they start growing, keep adding the compost until you can't really get any more in. You know, when you do water them, that compost will sink a bit, so it'll pull everything down with it a little bit. So don't think you can't get much more in, because there'll be a fair bit more will go in them yet. And then once it's about 1 inch down, because you don't want it brimming to the top, because you struggle getting a good dose of water in then when you come to have to water them. Because I tend to water, I up my water in sort of like the last 6 weeks, and I add tomato feed around the last 6 weeks of growth as well, because you do like a potash feed, high potash, you know, and tomato feed seems to do the job for them. You don't have to, they've got to feed in there, the bloodfish and bowl, you will get something out of them, providing they don't rot off in the cold. So same again, as the tops come up, you get a cold snap, they might get frost, so you might have to cover them with a fleece at some point, you know, just to protect them. So that's them done. Well, while we're at it, I'll have a quick look so you can see what sort of state the garden's in at the moment. So this is where the Hilda's mixed sweet peas will be going once they're all up and everything. I need to pull that netting off and just stain these fence panels before they go out, so they'll be planted out probably in April. This is what is some gypsophilia, so I've got a couple of plants in there, see how they go. I'm not really a flower man, but see how they go. One of the next jobs will be sorting this gutter out, getting it ready for the peas, because yeah, it's cold, but peas don't mind a bit of cold, just watching they don't get too wet. These beds are covered up. My mum's lilies that were in here dug out, they're actually putting a big planter box out the front, which I'll show you in another video, providing they come up. There's just some strawberries. Kane's little paddock, yep, and Kane will be out here in the summertime, so you'll be able to see him in the updates as well. And then Polytunnel's a tip at the moment. Some spring onions that were done sort of December or something like that, I think. Pot there, there's a couple of pots inside at the back. They're a bit limp and whatnot, but oh, if you're wondering what this great big box is down here, it's all intended to be my new carrot box for the giant carrots, which I still need to order the seeds for actually. As we go down the garden, you can see this is the old onion drying rack. I put my shelf out of the Polytunnel on, so that's just kind of dumped there for now. Everything needs a good tidy up. Compost heap, doing alright. This here is a great pile of horse shit basically rotting down. I got it I don't know, probably a month ago, something like that, maybe a little bit longer ago. I've cooked it up, and it's just slowly sort of rotting. It's still holding temperature. It's like 40 odd at the moment, so it's on the cooling down phase. So I've got a load of worms in my compost heap, so I'll introduce them into there and they can start doing their thing. That's all the sand out of my sandboxes. So I've pulled it out about a month ago to just weather through. It's had plenty of rain on it, but it's also had a lot of cat shit on it as well. Like up here, it's so wet up here. These were topped off with my own compost a bit ago. It's like stodge, and you can't sow anything in that at the moment. That's where the onions were, and some cauliflower, which I never dismantled the frame. The netting's still laying around everywhere. There's some greens. They've just been struggling against the elements. So it's really windy out here. This little cucumber house. So all the winter pepper that's died. So it needs a right good clear up everywhere. I think there's some bluebells at the bottom and some iris, I think they are. This side, leeks. These are coming out in a few days. This one sent a seedy spike up, so I'm not bothered about that. They'll clean up at the bottom and I'll freeze them. There's some greens over there. They've been early picking them. I'll leave them there until my spuds need to come out, and then I'll lop a lot of them off and Kane will eat them. Edged Durham earlies, then they've been growing all winter. I can't remember when I planted them out, maybe November. Winter shed. My seed potatoes in here, all chitting away. Absolutely loads of them. So, because last year was a bit of a bleak outcome on the potatoes, so. But the way the weather's been, it might be another bleak one. What we've got here, we've got Duke York first earlies, Charlotte's second earlies, Morris Pears, so they're the usual ones I do. Then we've got these which are called Jazzy. I grew these a few years ago. Some of you might remember I was doing a trial on them, and I grew them for loads of little tiny spuds. So these were just a last minute thought, and I've no idea where I'm going to put them yet, so they'll probably end up in pots staggered around the garden, because they're kind of ready from about 8 to 10 weeks. So I got a ridiculous amount of spuds in a small pot last time when I did the trials on them. It's going back probably 6 years ago. And these are the ones I usually grow, which are Orla. Didn't do very well last year. There's still a row of them in that'll be rotting away, so I need to do my big dig sort of thing. Some Sarpole Mirror. I've got a few of my own left, so I think I've got like 13 there, so not very many spuds to be honest when you buy them. So I've got a few of my own. I might select some of my own just to fill the row. I think I get about 18 in a row. And then the King Eddies are back here, ready for the pots in end of this month. That's what's going on here. So I'm going to have to buy some spuds, but I mean, a sack of spuds there cost me £7. So the main croppers, and they'll be fine now, but I mean it makes you wonder whether it's worth growing main croppers sometimes. For the length of time they take. You know, I might try it next year. I might have a year of doing like first and second earlies, and then I've not got to worry about the blight, and I can maybe, you know, if the second earlies are out by July or something like that, I can put something else in the ground to overwinter. So, but like I say, it gets a bit flooded, so I might botch up a raised bed at some point, or I have no idea what's going on with the plot. I don't even know how much longer I'm going to have it for, to be honest, because it's getting a bit tricky to carry on with the gardening sometimes. I keep falling behind, but I just do what I can with what time I've got. You know, if it's a busy year, the garden has to take a back seat for a bit. These are some Ondi that were planted before Christmas, so the cats have scuffed up the rest of them. But these three, I'll leave them in because they'll start growing even quicker now, until I need that for some carrots. Some gooseberries. So there's not a lot going on. Like I say, it's just so wet. I mean, you can see it there, it's just dodge. It's not been this wet in this garden for years. So I think they're saying it's wet as February we've had. Well, grass seems to be growing. I need to treat that because it's got creeping buttercup on it, so I need to get that treated and then mow it all off before Kane can come out and graze. So back in the polytunnel, let's have a look what's going on. Real skinny onions there, the Santero. And then in here I've got some sweet peas, and there's some Missouri lettuce at the back that's pricked out. Some more sweet peas in here, Hilda's mix, my mum's. And then obviously we've got the spring greens, some seed potatoes left. That one's a bit manky, so I'll not bother doing that one. Like I say, I've got these two left, I might use them. Got some of my own shallots here as well, so if I need some more shallots, I've got a few here. Grown in tubs, so they should be alright. Like I said, spring greens under there. Some more of my brassicas here. I'm not going to bother pricking any more out today. I'm desperate to do them because they're getting leggy. But say me Aquil's broccoli and my golden acre, they're okay for a week or so yet. But they're going to stay outside now. Now they're up, just to try and give them a sturdier growth. So this stuff here is capillary massing. I've got my Clapton cauliflower on it, my greens as well there. So it's just a case of I usually just lay this down, keep filling it up and lay it down, and I just slowly wet it up because I don't want it absolutely flooding. The idea is get the matting to stay permanently sort of damp, but it will work the other way. When you've got big open spaces like this in the middle, it'll dry out and it'll also suck the water out of your pots if you're not careful. So just wet it like a little bit like that, and just come back to it in half an hour and wet it a bit more until it kind of all feels like it's dampened right through. Because the idea is the water gets sucked all over the place, and then obviously the bottoms of your pots are touching it, and it's a way of maintaining moisture without, if they get a sunny day in a polytunnel, even though it's freezing cold outside, it's still warm. But I'll soon tell you what temperature it is in here. On the floor it is 12.5 degrees at the moment. Those are my giant onions. So this was a little thing I got from Lidl. It was about £7. Takes 2 batteries, and I have a little sensor up in my bedroom display that tells me what temperature it is in my room, and it also tells me what temperature this is reading. So it's handy for any sort of late night, you're in bed and you get up and you just catch you out the corner of your eye saying, like, 1 degree, you think, hey up, you've forgotten to cover stuff up. Get wrapped up and get out. No point getting back in bed and waking up the following day losing everything. Like I said, the garlic, really, really slow. So I've put a tray in the house just to see if it is the cold, but there's roots on it, so it's still going. Like I say, it's not happened to me before. That's usually always been up by now. Well, hey-oh, we can only keep trying. Oh yeah, I need to have a right good clear up in here, because when I do my King Edwards, I've got to try and get 12 tubs of compost under there, which are good because they take heat in and then they rise up and warm the anything that's on the shelf, and if I cover it with a fleece, it kind of traps it. So the idea is in the winter is fill your polytunnel up with a load of stuff, because it all takes in heat and then it gives it back out through the night then. So that's it for this video. So next one probably be a couple of weeks. By the time I've done a few more jobs. If I walk across the plot, I might film a bit of footage just so you can see the state of it. But we'll just play that one by ear. Alright, thanks for watching. Take care, and I will.